It's now 10:08 a.m. and I hereby call this Cannabis Committee meeting to order. May I get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion.
Ready?
All those in favor to adopt today's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Or opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Today's agenda is hereby adopted. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce the members of the committee. We have our Vice Chair, Rep. Marissa Flores, members Rep. Ed Probst, member Rep. TJ Manglonia, and the other members will be making their way in a bit. Joining us this morning to assist in this meeting is we have Ms. Claire Sablan and Mr. Nick Raboliman, together with our legal counsel, uh, Joe Tyrone. We have also our IT, Mr. Delbert Camacho, and our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Will Agun. Okay, moving along to item 3, public comments. The floor is now open the podium is open for public comments. Okay, there appears to be none. Podium is now closed. Moving along to item number 4 on the agenda, new business. And if there's no objection from the members, I'd like to invite the Cannabis Commission and its director to the chamber, which you're already sitting in the chamber. Director, you have the floor. Please introduce your members and you may proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Camacho, Vice Chair Flores, honorable members of this august body, and thank you for affording us the opportunity to provide an update on the current state of the Commission. My name is Mickey Adi Evangelista, Managing Director of the Cannabis Commission, and joining me today are Acting Chairman Juan Iguel, Vice Chair Journey Hofschneider, my Executive Secretary Natasha Palacios, and from the Permitting and Licensing Division, Inspector Eric Bassa. Also on the board is Secretary to the Commission, Commissioner Thomas Songsong. The Compliance and Enforcement Division on the presentation is looking a little bare, but we are hoping with the legislature's help to remedy the situation as soon as possible. A growing trend. Despite Murphy's Law's best efforts from a coronavirus pandemic and the ensuing lockdowns up to the financial crisis we find ourselves in today, the CNMI cannabis industry has seen growth in the past few years. These are the excise taxes collected from fiscal year 2022 up to the second month of fiscal year 2024. We can see a 66.3% increase in revenue between fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23. We also see the total collected in the first 2 months of fiscal year 24 standing at $63,372.58. It is worth noting that the total collected in the first 2 months of fiscal year 23 was about $34,400. As for our other revenue stream, the commission collected about $53,500 in fiscal year 22, and then more than double that amount in fiscal year 23. Fiscal year 24 does look a little trim, but the lion's share of the payments usually come during renewal season between late July and the end of September. The blunt facts. I've spoken to a few members of Congress already, and there understandably is a little bit of confusion surrounding our funds. So I'm happy to offer some clarity today. On the left, under general funds are the amounts appropriated to the commission through the fiscal year 24 budget to pay for wages and salary. 1109 pays for 3 full-time employees, Natasha, Eric, and myself. And 1110 pays for the board's compensation at $275,000 per year for 5 board members. Now on the right, the special funds, this is where most of the confusion seems to lie. Account 1501B houses our revenue from application and license fees. The amount presented on the presentation is the actual amount. This specific account has yet to go through the account certification process. But in my talks with finance, this number is still fairly accurate to what the number would be post certification. Um, Below that, 1501S is where our revenue taxes from excise taxes ends up. The amount indicated at $207,261.83 is the actual amount pre-certification. So if we had access to this account, this would be the amount that we'd be working with. Below that, at $517,868.14 is what the estimated amount would be post account certification. This account is currently going through the certification process, and once the process is complete, I will go ahead and provide a more exact number to the House. And below that, account 3701T is our SNILD appropriation. Those are the funds we have for operations right now. It's the only account we have access to for operations. This pays for water, power, internet, phone services, printer ink included, and it is running dry pretty fast. This list indicates both fee schedules for application fees and licensing fees that the public has, the opportunity to apply for. Now, currently we have 16 total licensees, 8 producers, 6 retailers, 1 processor, and 1 lounge licensee. All of this amounts to $75,400 in licensing fees every year. And as of September 30, 2023, there are 59 active employees in the cannabis industry. A year and a half ago, that was 17. So we are seeing growth. What isn't displayed on the presentation would be the salaries paid to these employees, payments made to CUC, BGRT. Chairman, I know you did request the BGRT numbers. I am working on that. Once I get that from Tax and Rev, I'll go ahead and provide that number. Now, on top of that, we also have 9 pending applicants, 3 producers, 2 processors, and 4 retailers. 2 of these pending applicants, 1 producer and 1 processor, will be up for hearing tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. If all goes well and these applicants become licensees, we're looking at another $38,700 in potential licensing fees every year. A joint effort. I am a firm believer in making the dream work through teamwork, and this endeavor is no different. A few of these challenges listed were present in the first Cannabis Committee meeting, but at the time, the main issues surrounding these challenges were a lack of funding. Today, we are halfway up that hill. The funding is available from revenue generated solely by the cannabis industry. We just need the legislature's help in appropriating said funds so that the commission can operate as a fully functioning regulatory industry, or agency rather, excuse me. Now, if the application and inspection processes for the other 7 of the aforementioned pending applicants go swimmingly, we are looking at 7 different on-site inspections. I cannot stress enough the need for a commission vehicle and the difficulties we face carrying out the commission's most basic duties without one. On the bright side, we want to leave on a positive note. Once the funds are appropriated, we will pick right back up with public education outreach presentations, DPS enforcement training with an emphasis on Tinian and Rhoda, as enforcement trainings have not been conducted there yet. So we aim to do that. We also look forward to staffing our compliance and enforcement divisions with 2 cannabis control agents to conduct scheduled and random inspections, validate monthly reports submitted by the licensees. All of this to ensure that our licensees are playing by the rules governing this industry. We also need to hire 1 licensed and permitting officer to meet the demands of this growing industry. One of the upcoming changes to the regulations will be a 20. That's actually a mistake up there on the upcoming regulations. It's a 25 reduction of application and licensing fees for the 3 other municipalities, being Tinian, Rhoda, and the Northern Islands. Members of the board are here to answer any questions regarding that. And that'll be the end of my presentation. Thank you again, Chairman Camacho, Vice Chair Flores, honorable members of this august body. We look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Director. Members, I open the floor for questions. Recognize Rep. Ataw.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Director, and to your team, to the board commissioners. Thank you for joining us this morning. These accounts that you have under the commission, are they in interest-bearing accounts, or are they where are they being stored at? What bank?
Thank you for that question, Congressman. As far as I know, all our excise tax, anything application fees, they all go through the central government and stored into our special funds account.
Chairman, we're not live. We're not.
back to this meeting. Floor is open for questions. Recognize Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Cannabis Commission. Thank you for coming today. Um, Last week we had Mr. Palacios come in regard to his nomination, and there was an exchange of information that was given to us. Some of that actually stuck out to me. One of my biggest things is the promulgation of your rules. um 21, I'm sorry, public law 2125 actually makes certain amendments, and some of the amendments in section 4 included to promulgate such rules and regulations as may be necessary to fulfill the intent, policies, and purposes of the chapter, which was the commission. Now, we are sitting here, or at least I'm sitting here, and I'm looking at the needs of the commission. And one of the things that you had mentioned was the need for more staff in terms of, I guess, compliance officers and people to go out and regulate and ensure that these businesses are following the law, correct? My issue to that is I'm all about creating jobs. I'm all about empowering our people to work. However, when there are no promulgations of internal policies and control, I'm very hesitant, because then what does that, how do you tell someone to conduct their job when the promulgation of the rule and internal policy is not even created?
Sorry, Vice. Can you clarify on what are like the internal policies, like our regulations? Have they been adopted or?
Well, there's you have some amendments here on Public Law 21 that included internal policies, that the commission was to promulgate such internal policies that obviously guide you to do your work, correct? Okay. Has that been adopted, all of that? Internal policies?
Well, we're currently trying to work on SOPs for both the permitting and licensing and
Mhm.
compliance and
Mhm.
enforcement divisions.
Mhm.
It's just we're extremely short staffed at the
Mhm.
moment. But that is one of the first things we want to clear up
Mhm.
before, conducting, as you said, conducting our operations out on the field.
Yes, I think that's important, because many times we have agencies performing on employment. They're working. We hire them, and then when you ask for, what their job duty is, it's kind of just a markup template. But the one thing that always stands out is all other duties aside. We don't even know what that is, right? Only the commission will kind of guide the staff or the employee to do as they're told, which that does not do anything for the actual person you're going to hire, because what you want to do is elevate the knowledge, right? And encourage growth so that your turnover is not so high. You want to maintain, retain, and build capacity, right? Internally first. I really think that these promulgation of rules need to be addressed. Your internal policies need to be approved. Because without that, I have a hard time supporting the need when there are no set policies and procedure in hand. But I do commend you guys on the commitment that you have been demonstrating since the conception of the Cannabis Act. And since some of you are very new, um, I have to commend you that you are doing the best you can. And we're here to support that. However, we have to do it correct. And doing it correctly means promulgating the rules. Your internal policies and procedure need to be adopted soon. And I said it at the last Senate that to Mr. Palacios, every day that you don't have your promulgation of rules and internal policies, every day it puts the commission at risk for a liability and a suit, which we don't want because this is such a fresh industry. We want to make it correct, and we want to help you do that. The other thing that I wanted to discuss is, since we're talking about internal procedure and rule, on Title 4, uh, letter I, it talks about quorum. And it does say the commission is encouraged to adopt rules and regulations to provide for the appearance at meetings telephonically or via video conferences by members who are physically in the CNMI but not physically present at the meeting. And then it allows you guys to that 3 absences, unexcused absences, allows for a reduction in the cannabis commissioner's salary. Are you guys currently tracking that? And everyone's attended every time? How many members do you have that are unexcused? So they're all excused? All of them are excused? So what is your internal rule? How many days do they have to notify you to be excused? The day of, 3 days, or there's no rule, so it doesn't matter?
Sorry. Prior to the meeting,
Mhm.
depends on what the issue is. There's been family emergencies, so that's usually last minute.
Mhm.
The other issue that came up that was excused was sudden illness. And so those they've called in right before the meeting or the
Mhm.
day before the meeting if something has happened or there's a death in the family.
Mhm.
They have always been excused.
Okay.
A member is no longer with us that did not have excused at the
Okay.
time because they did not let us know in a timely manner.
Okay. So here's my next. How much longer will it take for you to promulgate your rules? You guys can get back to me on that. I know there's several tiers, right? You guys have different processes. Okay. So let me, Mr. Bossa, what is your position there at the commission?
I am the inspector.
Inspector. Okay.
Yes.
Take me through the process. So you approve a license. Okay.
Approve a license. Okay.
Well, everyone else, you're the inspector. So before you approve the license, you go and inspect.
Yes.
Okay. Take me through that process.
So if it's or do you want me to start when the application comes in?
Take me through the process
Okay.
from the beginning to where you're at right now.
Okay. So if an application comes in for a let's say a producer license, I conduct the reviews. If there's any discrepancies, I inform the applicant of those discrepancies. I give them a timeline on when to submit those discrepancies. If there's a need for an extension, I give them that opportunity. Once those are submitted, and everything is administratively complete, the next step is for that applicant to receive a premises on-site inspection letter, or it was rather known as the approval in principle. What that letter basically states is that the application is complete, and based on the date of the letter that was issued, they have a year from that time to prepare the premises for an on-site inspection. So if we issue them today, they could come back to me next week and say, Commission, we are ready for an inspection. And then we look at our calendar, we set a date, and then we go in and make an inspection. During the inspection, based on the type of license they have, there are certain areas that we look for. If the inspection looks good, I come back, I generate a report, I collect all the inspection photos, all the application information, and I forward it to the board members prior to making a determination. And then I'm done.
Okay. So what are discrepancies? How do you define a discrepancy if there's no promulgation of rule?
So we do have in our rules and regulations,
Okay.
we have a application process,
Okay.
and also stuff that we need to review.
Okay.
And so basically in the review, with regards to whatever is needed to support the application, that's what we look for. So if an application is missing a business license, then that would be one form of discrepancy. Or if it doesn't have a zoning permit, or the SOPs are incomplete as far as the type of license they apply for, then that's a discrepancy that I mark, and then I inform the applicant to rectify.
Okay, thank you. So again, right, the importance of these SOPs is a lot of the businesses here often tell us that it's not a fair game between the government and the private sector. So as a body and you are requesting for their internal SOPs to be approved by the commission, while the commission doesn't have some SOPs to kind of dictate how they are to be in compliance and performance with the government and the public law, right? To ensure that they're following what they're supposed to do. So, do you see where I'm getting at as far as check and balance and fair game for free enterprise, right? You are the compliance officer. You take in all the applications, and then you come in and say, okay, your SOP, you don't have an SOP, or your SOP doesn't look like it's sufficient enough, based on if your attorney or your AG looks at it and says, no, this is not fair, or what have you. But yet internally there's no SOP. So that could be challenged at some point, right? Because how do you determine that, right? So that's where I'm at. And again, this is no way to take away from the ability to you guys to perform, because you guys are doing a great job. Our job as legislators to ensure that we protect the commission, but also protect the integrity of the business, right? Because it is a privilege to do to have a business here, but we also put the people of the commission that are working for the agency at a very high expectation, because you are representing the Commonwealth. You are part of this business. So I think for now, Mr. Chairman, I think I yield until I come back for another follow-up question. But thank you. I just wanted to address that component of that first. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Recognize Commissioner Ewell.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Vice. I'm really trying to get to the center of the procedures, right, that you're mentioning. Um, with the enabling body of 2066 and 2105, the Commission has already adopted rules and regulations. In those rules and regulations, there are already procedures for what each applicant, and it's broken down from a producer to a retail to a lounge, what they must provide. And the Commission has already adopted applications for each license. So even in that application, it does have uh, check boxes of what the commission will accept and not. So in to that extent, we do have procedures in accepting and making decisions about an application. If that helps clear things up, we do have procedures on that. Thank you. And for inspections, we have procedures on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Floor is still open. Okay, I have one. You said you had 9 pending applicants, right?
Yes, Chair.
What's the holdup? I mean, aside from the inspection and
So
coming
so
from the
about half of
commission?
the 9 is currently going through the application process. I believe 4 or 5 are going to be going through the inspection process. But as I mentioned earlier, 2 of the 9 are up for hearing for approval tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
You know, what's the biggest challenge aside from coming out from the commission, like in terms of permitting? Uh, is it what is it, zoning, right?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with zoning. Mainly time, um, getting the zoning permits and then coming through us. I think most of the issues that we tend to deal with, like Inspector Bossa mentioned, was the discrepancies that we would find in applications and having to get back to them on how to remedy that, and then moving forward from there.
I know you went through the process of obtaining the license, right, from beginning to end. Could you differentiate the process for processing license? Is it the same checklist?
Except for zoning, the zoning part of the process. I believe zoning doesn't yet have a yeah. Okay. Yeah. Zoning doesn't have a conditional use permit for the processing licenses.
So most of the licensee, the applicants for processing are existing licensees, correct?
Yes.
Members, floor is still open. Oh, sorry. Recognize Commissioner Schneider.
Thank you, Chair. I just would like to mention that what Director was saying was that the processors, and I would include a laboratory license and also a wholesaler license. They've been in the law. It's been clear that we've had these licenses since it was enacted, and the zoning board. My understanding is they only have a code, and that's what's part of the holdup for retail licenses, producers, and that's it, right? And a lounge, So I'm not sure why the other quote that I think what's happening with the applicants is that they're being held up because zoning does not have regulations created for those types of licenses yet. The thought is that a lot of the applicants that are applying for another license, let's say a processor in the same exact location that has already been approved for zoning for marijuana, cannabis, or cannabis use, or production, or business rather. And so it is unfortunate that we've hit that roadblock. So that's some of the trouble that applicants are having trying to get the full zoning approvals. We have acting chair has met with zoning, and I understand that he is supposed to be having further conversations around that. Perhaps if it was an applicant applying in the exact same location, and it was, let's say, a processor that did not, it was solventless, meaning that they do all extractions of the cannabis oils and whatnot through a natural process, not including any gas, like ethane, what is it? Sorry, methane, yes, gases and whatnot, any chemicals, that it would be easier to provide that zoning condition based on that. But other than that, it is very challenging and has been. We've been feeling the pressure from applicants in respect to not having their zoning completed, which, as I understand, is from a business perspective frustrating when they put a lot of money into leases and all this, and then coming to us and we can't approve the license yet because they don't have zoning. They can apply. Our applications state clearly that they can submit the receipt and the proof that they are going through the zoning process. So we would accept their application. However, we can't approve it until they, indicate that they have the zoning permit completely. So that has been a challenge for sure that we are still trying to work with zoning. And I understand that they had a new board come on and whatnot. So revisiting that again. I don't know if you're going to be going soon again to speak with them, but yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to let you know that that is one of the challenges that we have.
Thank you
with
for
our-
that.
Yeah, you're
I know the director and the acting chair know some people at the zoning board. I recognize Rep. TJ Maglonia.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to ask and clarify with you, is it okay to discuss export in this meeting? Okay. Hi, good morning again to all of you, and congratulations again for the new ones on board. And thank you for all your hard work and that presentation. Very detailed, and I appreciate that. Um, so, export. I know that we, as a committee, met with some potential investors that are very interested in exporting, and I understand that there is a federal, I guess, regulation that hampers that. Well, my whole thing is, these guys are ready, to come in and produce, ASAP. So I'm not an expert, and this is my first rodeo as a congressman, but um, I'm just trying to figure out a way that we can collaborate together to see how we can come up with some sort of exemption, maybe, as this is going to be, an economic driver. I think um, cannabis is it's a low hanging fruit for us. We're ahead of the game as far as regulations, even compared to Guam, and there's other parts of the world that recognize that, and just trying to figure out how we can, maximize that. And I mean, something has to give for us. We're all the way out here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and we can't just be treated as cookie cutter as the rest of the mainland United States. So, not too sure if that's something that you guys have been exploring, and maybe trying to see how we can approach the federal government, maybe creating some sort of exemption so we can allow these kinds of activities. So.
Thank you for that, Rep. We did get a visit from the investors that came in. Just for the record, nothing big. They just wanted to introduce themselves and what their target is. I mean, I know that the CNMI is bounded by our covenant, and it allows us with some, sort of loophole maybe. But to date, we are looking into it, but there's really no concrete, language yet whether export can be done. However, I do want to mention that we are gonna be part of we have already asked for a fee, so we are gonna be part of a association. The association is called CONRA, Cannabis Regulatory Association, and this is basically an association with all the other states that have legalized cannabis. With this association, just 3 months ago, they've also approach the state, the house, right, the US, regarding the descheduling of cannabis from 1 to 3. So and I know that within that too, they have a committee for transportation, and they are also looking into. That's why I think they're trying to really push for the descheduling, because I think it makes it easier to export if it's a Schedule 3 substance. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Floor is still open. Recognize the Vice.
Thank you, Chair. Um, and this was just a follow up from was it 2 weeks or last week when Mr. Palacios came? One of the things that we did ask was the credit card. And we know that there has been one business who's been very transparent about utilizing credit card as a form of payment to purchase cannabis. So how does that work when it's still classified as a federal drug? We are not supposed to commingle money in FDIC banks, and then yet you have a business now utilizing a merchant machine. Is that a local FDIC bank, or how is that? How do you guys now? Um, what is this? How is this possible?
Well, I'm not entirely sure if it goes through an FDIC bank. We will talk to legal regarding that to find out what our authority over the matter is, um, because it could be, you know, under banking laws and whatever else. But we will definitely discuss with legal to find out our authority over that matter.
And thank you. And I think that's important to ask because you have several other cannabis retailers who want to also kind of leverage, right, that avenue, but they're also wanting to ensure compliance on the federal side to protect the business, right? Yes, it's a local enactment, but it's quite a sensitive track, if you want to say. Any misstep, we don't want to be an example of the ones breaking federal laws, right? So can you just double check on that and see what that is? You know, that was actually brought up to my office, that how how is it that one does it and some don't, and if that's supposed to be within your area as far as the commission, what are the process to that, right? And you collaborating with commerce and getting these forms part of the package, then that's great. But I think as of now, I don't know if that's even possible or even that's happening. Okay, thank you. Oh, sure.
Thank you, Vice. I think another thing that I'll have, maybe director do is follow up as well with the other jurisdictions in the U.S. Right. So federally, it's still scheduled substance. So I wonder how states that are budding, like non-legal states, or even in general, how they audit those things, or the federal government audit. That's the positive thing, as well as joining the membership. We have. Uh, at the tip of our fingertips all those resources to ask those questions. There's a dashboard where you can connect with everyone, so that'll be really positive there. But I think it would be also very interesting to touch base with the other jurisdictions first to find out if they have ever been audited, what have they come up against in regard to issues with FDIC banks and any of the customers or licensees. So just wanted to make that note.
All right, thank you. Floor still open. I recognize Representative Ralph Yomo.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I wasn't support test. Just clarifying question with regard to price. I mean, I'm trying to understand the price tax revenue. That mean
So those are purchases made at dispensaries or from producers for strictly cannabis products, and that's what is collected. Aside from the 5% BGRT, there is the 15% excise tax.
so it's 15%.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's for the pre-cert. I mean, the actual amount for pre-certification. What is that?
So I was explaining earlier that the figure you see there at $207,261, that is the actual amount. That's if we had access to the money today, that's the amount we'd be able to spend.
Okay.
The 1501S account is currently going through account certification, and in my talks with finance, that number should increase to the number you see below it at 517,000. That's the estimated amount post account certification.
So at 517, at 15%. or 5%?
No, that's just how much we
okay.
have in our account.
Okay, so assuming it's 515, I'm used to 5% because we only deal with BGR here. We don't see other taxes. So 500,000 that equivalents to about $10 million in revenue.
No, sorry for the confusion. The number is the total that we've collected. Let me switch the slide here really quick. Yeah, so these are the figures for how much we've collected since fiscal year
So
2022.
it's not taxes. This is not taxes then. Is
These
it
are
fees?
excise taxes, yes. Yeah, for strictly cannabis products.
Yeah, because for example, if you take 500,000 and you divide by 5%, that becomes $10 million. I'm not sure with the 15%. So maybe the numbers is not really.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, let me.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and find those figures for you.
Okay.
And
yeah, so it's not. It looks like they're just paying fees. It's not actually taxes. Like tax, like.
Sorry, that's what I got.
Yeah, no, I know, but yeah. So I'm just saying that if you're gonna collect approximately 500,000, that's like $10 million to collect 500,000. Yeah, this is 15. That's why I'm just trying to verify if the numbers are correct. Just making sure, because when we're doing taxes, it's the reverse. We divide, so that must has to generate an X number of dollar to get that percentage of tax. That's how we look at things here. So just to clarify only. Thank you.
And the sooner we get the certification, we can approach our good Ways and Means chairman to amend that 2389. Recognize Commissioner Hofschneider.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to also mention that Tax and Rev has not distinguished yet the excise tax coming in from products that are like machinery. These lights, the tents that are coming in, the actual like machines that are coming in to produce, or the equipment that's coming in to produce, and that's a very big chunk of product coming in, because we don't have any of that here, right? To supply these big producers, or even retail with certain things, right? So I just want to make note of that as well, and our chair is going to be following up with Tax and Rev again on that. Okay.
Thank you for that. Floor still open. Recognize Rep. Atto.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a follow-up question to what Commissioner Schneider had mentioned. So if the end result for that is to collect those funds and put it towards the commission, do we want to separate all byproducts for the manufacturing of the cannabis in itself? Is that the commission's position? I'm asking this because the lights, the equipment, that's separate from the cannabis, right? The industry itself is separate, but we're not separating equipment from the actual excise tax collections to be going to the industry itself, because those byproducts, I guess you can say, or whatever, would be just based on costs when they land on island, right? So let's say $10,000 for a machine that's going to be utilized for manufacture. It's 5% of that that's going to be on excise tax. Is this something that the commission is looking at separating and putting it as part of the commission's account? We need to make sure that that's clear in the law, because if it's not, the reason why the commission is separate from the government in a sense, right? It's because of the federal government seeing the cannabis as being a tier one drug product, right? So it's we're separating, we're legalizing on the state level, but these machines that are being utilized, you can actually, there's people that use different types of stuff, right? That they can MacGyver themselves to to make sure that they're successful with the in planting or whatever the cannabis. So if this is something that the commission's in a position to push forward with, I think we need to make that clear. But just to let you guys know that that's going to be a big challenge when we start including all of these other stuff, because it's taking away from the general collections, and it doesn't necessarily touch anything illegal in regards to manufacturing the product. All right. So do we want to keep that separate, or do we want to leave it as is right now? Because I'm just saying that this might be one that's going to trigger the legislation not to move forward because of challenges.
Thank you for that. But yeah, I know we've had a discussion about it, and maybe like August, our last one of our last meetings. But we knew it's gonna be a challenge because we knew that finance is gonna come into play. Customs gonna ask for shares as well. So we knew it's gonna be a challenge. So that's why we haven't really moved on it yet. But we know that it's still up in the air for discussion. But until we get concrete ideas on how to really go forward with it, then we'll approach it.
Okay, so with that being said, when would it be possible for the councils to sit, both the commissions and this body, to work on amending the statute to allow the separation of the actual funds, and should be utilized by the commission rather than collecting the money, get stuck, and then having to come to the legislature to appropriate the funds for utilization? I think the sooner the better. The industry is just going to grow. It's supposed to grow, right? So at the earlier stage is so much easier, because once people start seeing how much money this is going to make, trust me, it's not going to be you guys deciding where the money's going to go. It's going to be this body, and that's where it's going to be tougher for you guys.
So we have a meeting tomorrow, but we have the applications that might not meet, that didn't meet for tomorrow's meeting. We might schedule another one by the end of December as well. We're trying to hammer out all the applications by the end of the year, and maybe at that meeting we can invite also the councils for discussion.
Okay, and you guys have a meeting tomorrow?
Yes.
Would be something that the commissioners would consider discussing, or maybe the director of the commission would allow it to be, or just for discussion purposes, under miscellaneous,
Okay.
right? Not for debate, just so it's brought up, and then it's something that the commission is going to look forward to in the very near future for their next meeting.
Sure.
I think this is important, and also I think the commissioners should reach out to finance to make sure that these monies, actually these in these accounts, should be separated from the general fund and put somewhere else, because it might actually hurt you guys even more. It might actually hurt the CNMI in its entirety as an account, being placed in the general account of all the other collections. And you don't want these monies to be lost in translations, because it's so easy to appropriate monies, and you guys might actually lose the monies. No, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Recognize Rep.
I'm sorry.
Ralph.
Thank you. I'm not a member, but because the vice chair mentioned something about credit cards, I was wondering where these funds are located at. Is it at City Trust or Bank of Saipan?
We can get a better answer for that. I haven't, like I mentioned earlier, to the best of my knowledge, was that it's in the general fund or
It's
the
in
government. It goes directly into the central
because
government.
I understand they pay you guys cash, right? So the cash must have gone somewhere, or a check.
Correct. Yeah.
It has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
It's either in a safe, or someone collects it, and it's you can't say that this is the cannabis money, because then it jeopardizes everything.
That is true.
So yeah, that goes back to Rep or Vice Chair's question with regards to where are all the funds at, and how is it not? I mean, I don't know. I'm confused right now.
We can try and get that answer today, Congressman. Yeah. Have to.
Recognize the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. And yeah, I think, in light of what Rep Yumo's saying is when you look at the numbers, knowing what we know, those numbers just don't jive correctly, right? Like I would question, it's still kind of low for me, right? Because we know there's another source of where it goes, right? And you're talking about these credit cards. So it is it there? Is it not there? And what I'm sorry, Mr. Palacios said was, and he was on oath when he actually said it. He said he's not the banking police. Well, yeah, we know that. The thing is how is it being recorded? Because you're supposed to be that point where that money, you're supposed to know where every transaction is going. And when he was even unaware of that, that was a red flag for us because we need all the help we can get at this point. And we want to ensure that we don't jeopardize the commingling of federal funds when we know that it's still considered a drug. And when you have X amount of agencies receiving federal funds and it goes into the general account of Bank of Guam, and this money now, wherever it is, that's an issue. So I would really recommend that, as Rep Ato mentioned, tomorrow's meeting maybe under miscellaneous, put it out there towards your body, and at least have it on discussion so that on the next meeting you have it could be an agenda item, right? For action or table, whatever that looks like. Um, the last thing I wanted to say, I think, and I think I would be done, is I know Mr. Eagles in his acting capacity, and I'm not sure tomorrow if you will be, or sometime in the future, obviously you will be electing again new members for your board. I would recommend to this commission that your input for a board chairman is crucial. You have opportunity to collaborate with your board members, but really, really make the effort and as much impact that you can to ensure that your leader is someone that you can work with, is someone that has the same ideas and share the same passions for this business to survive. Because director, you're the second one, right? And I know you want to protect your staff and you want to be successful in this position. But also the importance of a chairperson is just as equally as important as having capable staff. And there's a lot that you guys still need to do. So I encourage you guys to continue working successfully together. We're always here to assist and make sure that this industry is safeguarded and is lucrative, but also pays its fair share to the coffers, right? So thank you again for your time, and I yield.
Thank you, Vice. And if there's none left, I'd like to thank you guys for showing up today. And you know, I know there's a lot ahead of you guys. Director, welcome aboard, and we wish you luck. Mr. Basa, thank you for holding down the fort for uh, a little bit over a year, right? Commissioners, thank you for your presence today. It's been a very informative presentation, and I do look forward to the BGR information coming out of finance, and of course the certification of these funds, so we can get the money back to the commission. All right. If there's nothing else, go for a short recess. rise back to this meeting, and we are now on item number 5, miscellaneous. Any miscellaneous? Ready? Okay, down to item number 6, announcements. Any announcements? Okay, being there's none, can you get a motion to adjourn this meeting? Get a second. Motion has been made to adjourn this meeting and has been seconded. Discussion. All those in favor to adjourn? Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.